Awesome. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out to the Swanton Village Board of Trustees Monday, March 10th, 2025 meeting. We've got quite an agenda this evening, so we will start with our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And just for those folks in TV land, Adam Paxman, Village Trustee, I will start the meeting, and once the Village President is sworn in, he will assume the rest of the meeting. So, is there, next on the agenda is public comment. Is there any public comment?
Agenda review.
Oops, sorry, agenda review, yes, I got it switched. Is there anything on the agenda? Bill?
Can we add personnel to executive session, please?
Yes. Thank you. Is there anything else anybody would like to add?
No, sir.
All right. Number 4. Public comment. Does anybody have any comment with regards to anything that is not on the agenda?
Anybody on Zoom?
Anybody on Zoom?
There is, but no one raising their hand.
Okay.
I do have a comment. I don't know who's plowing the sidewalks this year, if it's a different person, but he's done very well. He hasn't torn up much of my lawns at all. So it's been a rough winter, but
Yep.
I wave to him, and I'd like to commend him for doing a good job.
Thank you very much. We'll let him know.
It is Matt DePatie.
Yep.
Generally, almost 99% of the time in the
Yep.
sidewalk plow.
And has he been on before other years?
Last year?
Yeah, the tail end, yeah, so it's very similar. He shared duties last year.
Maybe the learning curve has arrived. So
It is a difficult piece of equipment to operate. It really
too big
is.
for our sidewalks.
Yeah.
And I think it helped a little that it got cold fast this year.
Anything else? All right, number 5 on the agenda is to swear in the elected officials for 2025. David Winchester as village president, Neil Spear, village trustee. Diane Day and Betty Cheney have already been sworn in so they could continue their duties for the village. So. With that said,
That's it.
Raise your right hand.
Raise my right hand. I, David Winchester, do solemnly swear that I will be true and faithful to the state of Vermont, and that I will not directly or indirectly do any act or thing injurious to the Constitution of government thereof. So help me God, under pains and penalties of perjury, dated at Swanton, Vermont, this 10th day of March 2025. I, David Winchester, do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the office of village president for 1 year for the state of Vermont, and will thereon do equal right and justice to all persons to the best of my judgment and ability, according to law, so help me God, under the pains and penalties of perjury, dated at Swanton, Vermont, this 10th day of March 2025. Thank you.
And then so Neil, ready for yours?
You ready?
Yep. Yeah, so raise your right hand and read your oath.
Okay, I, Neil Spear, do solemnly swear that I will be true and faithful to the state of Vermont, and that I will not directly or indirectly do any act or thing injurious to the Constitution or government thereof. So help me God, under the pains and penalties of perjury. Dated at Swanton, Vermont, this 10th day of March, 2025. And I, Neil Spear, do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the office of village trustee for a 3-year term for the state of Vermont, and will therein do equal right and justice to all persons to the best of my judgment and ability, according to the law, so help me God, under the pains and penalties of perjury, dated this 10th day of March in Swanton, Vermont, 2025.
Thank you.
A round of applause for both.
Welcome and welcome back. And at this point in time, with agenda item number 6, I turn it back over to the village president.
Thank you, Adam. All right, number 6, appoint the treasurer for the Village of Swanton for 2025 and swear in, which we already did.
Nope.
Now, I nominate Diane Day, if she accepts.
I accept.
And I'll second.
All right, we have a first and a second to accept Diane Day as a village treasurer. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Welcome back, Diane.
You can do
Thank
it.
you. So, I, Diane Day, do solemnly swear that I will be true and faithful to the state of Vermont, and that I will not directly or indirectly do any act or thing injurious to the Constitution or government thereof. So help me God, under pains and penalties of perjury, dated this 10th day of March 2025. I also do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the office of village treasurer for 1 year for the state of Vermont, and will therein do equal right and justice to all persons, to the best of my judgment and ability, according to law. So help me God, under the pains and penalties of perjury, this 10th day of March 2025.
Thank you very much, Diane.
Thank you, Diane.
Again.
Again.
Welcome back, thank you.
Thanks.
Number 7, appoint new trustee Spear as Water, Sewer, and Highway Commissioner.
Wow, that's a big job.
We have to make the motion on that, Diane? or-
Yes, please.
I'll make the motion that we appoint trustee Spear as Water, Sewer, and Highway Commissioner.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a first and a second to appoint trustee Neil Spear as the Water, Sewer, and Highway Commissioner. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Welcome, Neil. It's the Water Commissioner,
Thank you.
pothole inspector. Number 8, motion the Swanton Village Board of Trustees to adopt Vermont Leagues of Cities and Towns Rules of Order for the Rules of Procedure for the Village Trustees for the upcoming year through March 2026.
So move.
Second.
First and a second to carry on to adopt the rules for Vermont League Cities to Town. All in favor?
Aye.
Could I just add something to that, David?
Yeah, any further discussion?
Yes. VLCT is where we do all our training through them for our trustees, our president, our training. And they recommended that we go with VLCT instead of Roberts. Roberts just tends to be way more detailed, and this was a very good, easy model to follow for our open meeting laws. So something different. We
Okay.
usually would adopt Roberts.
Changing from Roberts
but
to
we're going
Vermont Leagues of
VLCT.
Cities and Towns,
Yeah.
okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Number 9, presentation by Friends of Northern Lake Champlain of McQuam Beach Project. Welcome Josh and Brittany.
Bridget.
Sorry.
Close. Most of the time I get Gretchen instead of Bridget, so Bridget's pretty good too, how about that?
So Diane is in the process of sharing the screen with your PowerPoint. But while she's doing that, if you want to introduce yourselves more formally and
And say hi to folks in the back too. I'm Bridget Butler. I am the executive director for Friends of Northern Lake Champlain, and I live in St. Albans City. I've been with Friends for, I'm almost at my 18-month period right now. I'm the newest executive director. They've been run by volunteers for the past 6 years, and this is the first time that we've had full-time staff in that time period.
Yeah, and I'm Josh Serpy. I'm the project manager for Friends of Northern Lake Champlain. So I've been here for 5-6 months now. Time's ticking away, but really excited to be able to start bridging these connections, become familiar faces in the area, and talk about projects. It's gonna be great.
Super. So I just want to give you a little bit of an overview of what Friends of Northern Lake Champlain does, and then Josh is going to talk about the project that we've come to ask you for signature on an operations and maintenance agreement. Some of you may be really familiar with Friends. Our mission, we are a small nonprofit. Like I said, we've got 2 staff and a board of about 11 people. Our focus is to act to clean the waters of Northern Lake Champlain and its watershed. by working collaboratively with citizens, businesses, farmers, and government in order to reduce land use pollution. Our focus specifically is on catalyzing the actions and the accountability needed to reduce land use pollution and securing the essential local, state, and federal funding necessary for successful implementation. So the majority of our work focuses on decreasing the amount of phosphorus that goes into Lake Champlain that causes the algal blooms that we see annually. Thanks. So how are we taking on phosphorus? We do that in a couple of ways. We have kind of three pillars to our work. The first is community outreach and engagement. So we look to connect people with the land and give them information so that they can make choices to help decrease phosphorus, whether it's in their community or on their own property. The second one is monitoring water quality, and so we work with the state of Vermont and our funders to identify different places where water monitoring might be necessary, and then we bring consistent data to inform our work and where we focus our water quality projects. And the last one are those water quality projects. So these are construction-based projects where we identify places where there may be concerns about phosphorus coming off the land. We work with towns and municipalities like you all, individual landowners as well, in order to support non-regulatory solutions. And that's a really big, important part of our work, is that we focus on non-regulatory work rather than regulatory projects.
What does that mean?
That means they're all voluntary. So we're not in, we don't act to bring people into compliance with state or federal guidelines.
Okay.
We're looking for folks that will say, we want to do the right thing. We've identified something in our town or on our land that we'd like to change. Can you help us in doing that?
Okay.
Super. Does anybody have any further questions? And then I'm just going to turn it over to Josh to talk about a project we've been working on along the lake in Swanton.
Yeah, no, I think just as a reminder to the Board of Trustees, we've had this dialogue before. This board, and for this concept, has heard this maybe once or twice, and we fully supported this project and all the follow-through that would be required. So this is really serving as an update.
Yeah, this is an update, and kind of like that we're at this next step. So Josh is going to tell you what we have done and what our main purpose is for being here, and then we'll fill you in on the kind of timeline moving forward.
Yeah, and next steps, but to also make us familiar faces like I alluded to before, because something that I love to also put up on our presentations is all the logos down at the bottom. And it's really to highlight that these clean water projects, it's not up to one individual. These are all partnerships. We rely on our municipalities. We rely on the state of Vermont, Department of Environmental Conservation. We rely on our consultants. So we had Watershed Consulting who actually did the environmental engineering work on this project and got us to this point. So it's not just up to one person or one organization or one municipality. We can all drive these non-regulatory projects forward. And what I'm here to give you an update on is the Swanton Town Beach, or as you know it to this point, the McQuam Beach project. And what this really is, it's two different projects nested into one to maintain the water quality around the beach area through a stormwater management process. And what you see up on this road is a few pictures. If you'll notice, the one on the left is going to be the town right-of-way project, so not the village. And what that is going to do is to basically treat stormwater that is coming off of the corner of McQuam Shore Road and Lancier Road? Lasnier Road. And that is going to serve to really
Lanier.
It is?
Yes, it's a
Oh.
Lanier.
yeah.
That's the other reason why we're here, so we make sure we
Well,
pronounce
I got it
it.
wrong. For the record, it's in the town.
Thank you.
So that's just one component of the project, because we really want to take this upstream approach. So we're not only treating water close to the source, that being Lake Champlain, we're also looking to treat the source. So we treat stormwater before it reaches into the runoff. And now, just to reintroduce the project that we're doing on the village property, which is on the beach. So it's going to be the bottom right photo. behind the parking lot, we're going to be intentioning a bioretention area. Essentially, it's a rain garden. It's designed to capture rainwater that is coming off of that parking lot, coming off of the road. And this is also twofold. We're looking to treat the stormwater, but we're also looking to educate the public. This is going to be such a great area when we do put in some educational sirens to really bring the public, coalesce them into this idea of what is a clean water project, because it tends to be hard for us who are in the scientific realm to really explain what a project is on paper. But if we can give a graphic explaining how we capture stormwater and how it leads to reduced algal blooms in the bay and thus giving you more swimming days at the end of the year, we have to find creative ways to drive our mission home.
Are you addressing both north and south of that McQuam Shore Road, or just north? The picture you had was the north side.
Yeah, so it's gonna be the core, we're doing a project in the right of way with the town on the corner. That-
Are you going on the left-hand side, headed to the beach? Because there's more water comes down that side than the side you just showed.
And this is a difficult thing for Bridget and I coming on at kind of
We
towards the
inherited
end of
this
the project, so we're inheriting.
yeah.
I guess what I'm saying is, are you gonna address both sides of the road or just the north side?
So just the north side at this point, that's what the design is for. And so we had consultants come out and look at the flow, where the water was coming from. And they picked these two spots as the spots to start with. And I think what we can do is continue to look at where there might be places that we can make additional improvements. But the original recommendation for this project came from the Swanton shoreline assessment that I believe was done in 2021.
2022.
I wanna say 2021 or 2022.
Do you
Yeah.
have the actual diagram that'll be helpful? Is that part of your PowerPoint?
Do you have it?
I don't, but I can pull it up.
I think that will really show where you're talking about doing the
Right.
installation.
Would I be able to get on
Yeah.
the screen?
If you have his email, it was attached as a PDF. Might be looked
No, I'm just looking at it. What am I gonna do?
Well, you know what? We can make it simple. I can pass this on and it shows on that side where the rain garden is gonna be.
Okay.
And where the parking lot is. So it kind of gives you the lay of the land. It shows the directional arrows where the runoff is most likely to happen and all that stuff.
It's a popular place and people want it.
It really is.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
See what they're
So
saying.
it's the right of way.
I'm not trying to throw a wrench in your presentation, but historically, there's more water coming down
Yeah.
from the field on the left-hand side than there is on this side.
On that side.
And that's a great point, that we want to be able to take all of these inputs in from like our concerned citizens, so that when we look towards the future of projects like these, we can continue to look upstream on the other side of the road in other problem areas. So, as Bridget mentioned, this came out of a shoreline and erosion report, and this was one of 3 projects that were actually recommended out of that report, and they go to these things called conceptual designs. So the engineers will find a project, say they find 20 projects. They take the top 3 projects that they feel is going to contribute the most to water quality and education, and a few other co-benefit factors, increased habitat, cost to the project, and they run it through a matrix, and they give you the top 3 projects, they give you concept designs. So very simple CAD drawings to where they can display to you, hey, if you decide to move forward with this as a project, here's a design that you can take when you go apply for grants to be able to
Right,
go to
yeah.
the next project stage.
Yeah.
Because that can get confusing around the work that we do, is that we break projects maybe up into 2, 3, maybe 4 phases, and that can go all the way from the pre-design, the design, and then the implementation phase. And typically, when we're doing a project like that, it takes 2, 3, 4 grants to be able to bring the project to completion.
Mr. Spear, what do you see in that? Was that able to answer your question of where the work's being
Yeah.
done? Yeah.
Yes, he's,
Future project.
Okay.
yeah, the intersection of Lanier Road and McQuam Shore, he's saying it's, as you're coming off Lanier Road, it's like right across there.
Yeah.
That's where the water runoff is
Yeah,
more
there's
more
a pull-off of the
significant.
culvert, and there's the conserved area there.
Yeah.
A lot of water comes down.
Comes
that
down
side.
through there. Okay. Can I keep that design, if I have Mr. Spear draw on it for a second?
course.
Put a X
Sure.
mark where he thinks that
Yep.
spot is.
And we-
For things like this, we're happy to come out and do a walk with you as well, right? So whenever you look at these designs that we bring from the consultant, right, and you have questions, we can meet up with you and do a site visit and walk through it, and we can even ask the consultant to come and kind of clarify why things were cited the way that they were.
And while we work very collaboratively, it's another one of the nuances of
Yes.
Swanton Village and Swanton Town,
Yes.
where he's gonna put the X's are in the town.
Coleman
That's
Mountain.
the town
Yeah.
piece, yeah.
Interesting.
That's right there.
It's good to know.
Yeah.
Right.
So
That-
there's another
cover
group
under
that's
there.
interested in on, because it's the swimming area's got kind of, let's just say vegetation in it.
Yes.
So, people want better access to swimming. And so they're allowed so much of a space that they can weed out as a path.
Mhm.
And the group that came up from the state, I will have to go back to my emails, was saying that they could get a wider path if certain areas were designated as conservation areas, so kind of, so we might be able to add to your project and add to their project, because I think
That's
your
interesting.
spaces you're doing now will qualify as space that they can take back
Mhm.
and take some of the vegetation out so the kids can get to the deeper
Get to
areas.
the water,
Yeah,
yes,
the water.
yep. Yeah, I've watched this site change, over the years and become, right, it's like the land is stretching outward, right? You don't have access to the water.
When the water is low, there's
There's beautiful mud flats that I love for birding, but that's not conducive to swimming at all.
Right.
Yeah, thank
And
you
again, that
very
water,
much for
you know,
that.
that lake runs south to north.
Mhm.
So, you know, when the water doesn't run south to north, this is what we get, and, you know, when there's discharge in Chittenden County, that's what we get.
That's what you get.
So,
you know, comes our way.
yep.
Good to know.
Yeah, we're really looking to, well, through Bridget's work with, you know, the community outreach and the education, like really bridge that knowledge.
Yeah,
And to be able to explain
Yeah.
to a concerned citizen or a non-concerned citizen exactly how their little impacts affect the greater whole.
Yeah, St. Albans Bay, Siskiyou Bay, or Maquon Bay, and then Siskiyou Bay.
Yeah. Yeah, and the good thing is we've done, you know, prior to Josh and I joining the organization, there's been a lot of work done, so we have shoreline assessments and erosion assessments. And the state is very interested in finding more projects that are gonna decrease the amount of phosphorus that's going into the lake. So currently what Josh and I are working on doing is reviewing all those assessments that predated our work there, so that we can go back and look at projects again and maybe bring even more to the forefront.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So today's needs,
Yeah,
yeah,
so,
there we go. This is
yeah.
our need for today.
so Bill, thank you for teeing it up that the village has been involved in the project from the get-go, even given that Bridget and I have had a limited exposure to the project in general. But what we're really looking to have signed here today is an operation and maintenance agreement that comes along with this clean water project. They call it a bioretention site. It's a fancy name for a rain garden.
Right.
You know, they try to slap the fancy name on it, and I get it from the engineering perspective. Calling it a rain garden, you can and you can. I prefer rain garden, some people prefer bioretention, but what we're really looking to like drive home is that the inspection and the maintenance is written out in this agreement so that the town understands what will go into maintaining this project for what the engineers like to call the lifespan. So when we're really designing these projects and going after the grants, the people who we are looking towards receiving these grants love to see a number that they can really use to quantify this project and having it move forward. So that number that's used is phosphorus.
Did you say that the town was gonna maintain it?
I'm sorry, I meant village.
Okay.
Forgive me for,
That's next week's meeting.
yeah, next week is
Picked
the
up on it.
town.
We're gonna go to the town and gonna, hey, if they want to, okay.
Because that, to further complicate it, all of this is in the town, but we, the village, maintain the beach.
The beach.
Yes.
Why? I'm not sure.
Because we
But
own
do.
it.
Because we own it. But yeah, it's a wonderful place. People
Yeah.
really enjoy it.
And so that's our driving factor for today is just to, again, introduce ourselves and reintroduce the operation and maintenance agreement and just have them sign for signature. And that there's the understanding between the town and us that the project is gonna get maintained.
Fantastic.
Is there something that we can read before we sign or make the motion?
There is, so I have it in front of me, and we have executed this before, so it would be something, the motion would be authorizing the village manager to sign, and you can read that. It's no cost. I have a question as you're doing that. Most of your funding partners are the state of Vermont or related to the state of Vermont. What concerns do you have about federal money now trickling into state coffers to support what you're
Yeah.
doing?
Yeah. So this has been a big part of my last 4 or 5 weeks. So this project is funded with federal money.
Okay.
We have an executed contract and agreement with the funder that receives the money from the federal government. The project right now is on hold because we are working with the funder to gain more reassurances that the money is going to come through. And so we've decided with the consultant that we don't want to hire a contractor until we get what we feel is the appropriate go-ahead, yes, you will get paid. So right now, we're in a pause position. Literally, there were emails flying around today again. We're not the only ones that are in this really sticky situation.
Everybody is.
Yeah, so we're doing our best we can to keep the project moving forward. It looks like, oh my gosh, there's all these degrees of assurances that are flying around right now. So I feel like this week, we feel a little better than we felt last week, that all the contracts that currently exist with this funder are going to go through and are gonna be paid out.
Bill, the maintenance of this would be placed on PWD.
Yeah, easy, discussed at the Board of Trustees last time, we feel it's manageable. So it's twice a year, literally ensuring cleanouts, anything like that, so we don't see that as a heavy lift.
Okay.
So, funding secure, in a perfect world, if we envision that the funding is secure, we hope to be able to come back
Yeah.
to the Board of Trustees in a month and really be able to talk about what our plan for implementing the project will look like. As it looks right now, and by our work plan with the contract, we are supposed to be sending this out for bid to contractors in the next month. Of course, as Bridget alluded to, we're taking a step back and really trying to read the tea leaves to get a better idea of how we want to move forward, but we're hoping for implementation this summer. I wish we could get more
Yeah,
information.
it could be
it's a
this
challenging
fall. I
site.
think we're all just, because everything just keeps changing. So while we may not be able to move to implementation this summer as planned, we've talked with the consultant. We feel like it's a short enough timeline for the overall project that we could get to the end of the summer, put a bid out for a contractor, and be able to finish implementation before the end of the year.
Neil, just for historical purposes, do you know of any issues with groundwater in that area that would affect what they want to do? Or is it no? Okay. No wetland or anything like that?
On the other side.
Yeah.
Besides,
We have
I
to-
was
We
here
have to
and
go
there
through
and-
all of that permitting, so all the permitting
Okay.
has been secured in terms of, and that was one of the things that initially held this project up. When I first started back in October of 2023, was the wetlands review was held up and the design had to change because that area where the rain garden is gonna go in, part of it was considered a wetland, so the design was completely
Yeah.
changed. We've done all the proper permits and reviews to be able to move to this point right now. The consultants are really good at making sure we walk through all the different steps and get everything covered before we bring you an operations and maintenance agreement.
That area between the parking lot and the road is pretty spongy.
Yeah.
It's springtime. So it'll help, be nice.
So, Bill, you had some wording that we might use?
I know you're accustomed to me having a fully prepared motion, but.
No.
Already, just to continue the motion that we motioned on?
No, it's
Prior?
probably separate. I would say the proposed motion would be to authorize the village manager, William Sheets, to sign the operation maintenance agreement for the Swanton Town Beach stormwater improvements
Got a first
with the
and a
Friends
second.
of Northern Lake Champlain.
So moved.
second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Any further discussion on agreeing to work with the Friends of Northern Lake Champlain under their project for the Swanton Village Beach in part of the town? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great.
One question.
Yes.
It says annual inspections. Who does the inspection? Are we supposed to do the inspection or the state?
No, you do. Yep. Thank
That's
you
fine.
all. And so I've heard people say town beach, village beach. Which should we be using when we say?
Maquon Beach.
Maquon Beach.
Maquon Beach.
Perfect.
Yeah, because it belongs to us,
Mhm,
but it's in the town,
mhm.
so Maquon Beach.
And that's how, is that how locals refer to it as well?
Maquon Beach.
Great, all right, I love it. Thank you, thank you.
so much.
You're
You're
welcome.
welcome.
Thank you, guys.
Have a good evening, safe travels.
Yeah, you too.
And don't forget, it's a Lanye Road.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
You're gonna have to phonetically write that.
Oh boy. Number 10, the 2025 official voting results.
We thought you were gonna read it.
I thought you were gonna read it too.
Oh, no, that's your job, Dave.
Oh, okay,
I give those right to you.
all right. So just read everyone.
Sorry about that.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Okay, the annual village meeting and election of village officers for March 4, 2025, ballot accountability. Number of voters on checklist, 1,616. Number of ballots counted, including absentees, 46. Number of absentee ballots counted, number of absentee ballots counted, 340?
So total number of ballots counted was 340.
Yeah.
46 of those are absentee.
Okay. Says here, I, Diane Day, Swanton Village Clerk, hereby certify that the results of the election of officers by Australian ballot at the annual Swanton Village meeting held in Swanton Village Complex in the county of Franklin, in the state of Vermont on the 4th day of March 2025 were as follows. Village President for 1 year, David Winchester, 275 votes. Write-ins 28, overvotes 1, undervotes 36. Total ballots counted 340. Village Clerk for 1 year, Diane Day, 312, write-ins 1, overvotes 0, undervotes 27. Total ballots counted 340. Collector of delinquent taxes for 1 year, Betty Cheney, write-ins 316. Betty Cheney 316, write-ins 2, overvotes 0, undervotes 22. Total ballots counted 340. Village Trustee for 3 years, Neil Spear, 272, write-ins 14, overvotes 0, undervotes 54. Total ballots counted 340. Signed by and affirmed by Diane Day, Swanton Village Clerk. Now we go over to articles. Correct. Thank you very much. Number of votes on checklist, 1,616. Number of ballots counted, 46. Number of absentee ballots counted, 340. I, Diane Day, Swanton Village Clerk, hereby certify that the results of the budget vote by Australian ballot at the annual Swanton Village meeting held in Swanton Village Complex in the county of Franklin and state of Vermont on the 4th day of March AD 2025 were as follows. Article 2, General Fund, $197,139. Yes votes 265, no votes 74. Undervote 1, total ballots counted 340. Article number 3. Highway funds, $763,395. Yes votes 283, no votes 56, undervotes 1, total ballots counted 340. Article number 4, Fire Department, $94,457. Yes votes 291, no votes 48, undervotes 0, Overvote 0, undervote 1, total ballots counted 340. Article number 5, Police Department for $1,005,026. Yes votes 215, no votes 124. Overvote 0, undervote 1, total ballots counted 340. Article number 6, electric facility, 8.3 million. Yes votes 166, no votes 172. Spoiled or overvotes 0, undervote 2, total ballots counted 340. Confirmed and signed and accounted for by Diane Day, Swanton Village Clerk.
So yeah, when they do an undervote, that just means they didn't circle anything, right?
They just didn't vote it at all.
Okay.
Yep. And then that page there, David, is just percentages,
Yeah,
if you want to give that.
yeah, I can do this. Tally sheet budget vote for March 4th, 2025. President David Winchester, percentage of votes was 81%. Diane Day, village clerk, 92%. Betty Cheney, collector of delinquent taxes, 93%. For trustee Neil Spear, 80%. Article number 2, general funds, 197,139, 78%. Article 3, highway department, 763,395, 83%. Article 4, fire department, 94,457, 86%. Article 5, police department, 1,005,026, passed by 63%. Grant article number 6, electric facility, 8.3 million. Yes votes 49%, no votes 51%. And certified by Diane Day. And that completes the review of all the votes for town meeting day for 2025 on March 4th. Parched. Number 11, discuss Swanton electric bond vote results.
So I'd like to just kick this off by saying, on the behalf of the board, thank you to everyone who came out and voted for the articles, this, that, and it's very important that people get out and vote, exercise their right to vote. That's what makes this country a great place to live. Sadly, the building did not pass by 6 votes. We've heard loud and clear again from some of the folks who voted no, and we will go back and see what else there is to do. We do know that we need to do something. We are desperate. And, correct me if I'm wrong, Bill, but, if we don't do anything in the next 3 to 5 years, we don't have a police department. So we need to do something. And I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
Anything?
I think just that, the way that we were going about this, that we put on the ballot, it was a division between the ratepayers, not the taxpayers, and maybe we're a little to blame that we didn't explain that well enough, because I did continue to see people on Facebook and the community groups talking about hitting ratepayers. But the reason it was on the ballot is because, or taxpayers, excuse me, but the reason it was on the ballot is because taxpayers own the electric company. So we need the taxpayers to state what they want to do to grow our electric company, not just electric, but also water and sewer, which it will be growing as we take on the airport project and the Southern Growth District grows. We're gonna be running out of room, we're gonna be needing another employee, and I just think that, the area we have now is not gonna serve us to grow the way that we need to for the next 50 years.
You really want me to say something?
You don't have to,
You
sir.
don't want to.
You can pass.
Oh, first of all, like Adam says, I'd like to thank all the voters who did get out. And even in the informational meetings, the discussions that we had, Everybody seems to be very happy with our team, the performance of the electric department, the performance of the fire department, the police department, and the road crew. Everybody approved all of those budgets, and we really appreciate that. But to continue having that support for those departments, we've got to have space. Space is the big issue here, and I'm not sure people realize that yet. All I'm gonna say.
Yeah, I'll add to what Neil was saying, is I think it was, people didn't realize it's just not about this electric building. It's about a space and reconfiguring all our enterprises here that the village taxpayers own, and we really do need space. And which would be how the best way to go about affording it, and how to go about redoing it, and having all that space, and which of our enterprises is the most lucrative of the bunch that can afford it more than we think the village taxpayers can afford something versus going on their village taxes, property taxes. That might have been a little confusing, but without a doubt, we moved the needle from no from last year's proposal to just about yes this year, so we're definitely heading in the right direction with the right solution. We listened to what people wanted and we brought it back. And I think there's just some misunderstanding and some miscommunication and some voter apathy and a lot of different things combined. But to say we didn't really change the direction from last year to this year wouldn't be incorrect. And we've heard from a lot of people that how disappointed this isn't getting passed or didn't get passed. If that's the best way I can shortly express it or explain it. It is definitely disappointing. Anybody else have further discussion? You guys out there in the audience? Don?
Standing out there for most of 12 hours with you, I was surprised how few people even raised the issue of space. They were really focused on the major part of the building for the electric department. And it seemed like they wanted to plow the same ground over and over and talk about taxes in last year's project. You know, I remember one gentleman, maybe two in particular, kept talking about raising their taxes.
Right.
And I heard you explain it, but I think as they walked away, they weren't calling you a liar, but they were still moaning and groaning about taxes. Maybe it was school taxes, I don't know, maybe it's one taxes. So I think the more to work to get off the tax issue, and also to, you know, I was here at the presentation, saw about the spaces, and I know you're crowded, but I think that's something that the public didn't either hear, or didn't want to hear, or didn't understand. So I think that would be something to kind of bring to the forefront.
Well, I think a lot of people did do the math for sure and came in and voted yes this time, that they did voted no last year. But I still think there definitely was some confusion about what the difference was from last year to this year.
I mean, I don't know what the trustees are thinking. You're gonna bring back the same project, you're gonna make some changes. I would hope that the project is not reduced so it makes it inefficient and a desirable space to work in. I have probably had oversight of probably 12, 15 school projects, and when they fail the first time, hopefully most of them did, but when they fail, I think there was a tendency by the people on the committee with the school board wanted to make sure they get it next time, so they started hacking. I'll never forget one project in Georgia, one of the things they decided they wanted to cut so they could take off a few $100,000 or whatever. Irritated more people, and we had another whole issue. Why are you cutting that? That was one of the strengths of the project. So, you know, it's a crapshoot. But I guess the bottom line in that statement is, you have a good project. Stick with it as much as you can. If you can think you can go with the project as it is, fantastic. If you think it needs to be some little tinkering around the edges, then certainly my advice is that certainly is feasible. But don't put the hatchet on this.
Well, we did do some major hatcheting from last year's to this year's. The cost and everything are significantly lower. The building is even smaller, but the gains are huge as far as space and restructuring. And by the time you add the 18,000 square feet of new and 12 or 14,000 square feet of existing back together, you're getting a project and new space combined of 32,000 square feet for right around $100 a square foot, which is phenomenal in this day and age.
If I could just interrupt you for a moment, David.
Sure.
When you say like, we really hatcheted the building from last year, it makes it seem like we took the public safety building and took that design and made it so we could fit the electric department in it, which isn't correct.
You're
And
right.
I understand that that's probably not what you're trying to say, but that's me listening to you, that's how I'm interpreting it. So I think it's important to know that when the group came to the table to talk about this building, we didn't look at any of the plans from last time. We started fresh. The only thing that we didn't have to sit through was where do the sewer lines go, and where are we gonna put the drainage, and what does the ground look like underneath, because that stuff was already done when they did the public safety building. But when we sat down to do the electric building, we started from scratch and said, this is how many offices we think we need for the admin support team, and this is how many offices we think we need for the line crew, and we'd like this room for that, and we'd like a garage that's this big. And we didn't take last year's stuff and hatchet it, so I just think that the way that we choose the words that we use when we speak to people is really important, because of the way that they're interpreting it and making meaning out of it.
Hack is the wrong word to use. It's a whole.
When we're talking
it's a
about
whole
hatcheting, we're
different
talking
ball.
about cutting down and reducing
I said
budget.
don't, no. You should.
So if I misspoke about that, cost-wise, it's extremely different. And Julie's absolutely right. There's nothing about the new building and project that's absolutely anything to do with last year's proposal at all whatsoever. Everything about it is completely different. And even through, unfortunately, the public doesn't get to see what we went through all year with the different coming back and forth from different designs and reducing this and changing that in order to get costs down, and going through the budgets and the costs with Connor Contracting to see what we can change to cost and reduce overall cost of the project, and going to look at their project. So much is where we started from what we wish, people could see what the project was originally looking like. It was pretty snazzy.
Yeah.
And now it's
Big
just
wish
really
list.
kind of down to 2 boxes, basically, and to streamline all that. But people have really seemed to have lost the idea of the 12 to 14,000 square feet of space that we're gaining back in this existing facility. And we're not doing a mega remodel or cost budget project type of gut and redo. It's gonna be reuse.
Well, I was gonna say, I think it's important to say that had the building passed the first time, we were planning on putting $0 into this building, just allowing everybody to kind of spread out and kind of figure out what that felt like for them and what they needed. And, when we sit down with Connor and Weeman, Lampier, and back up and punt and figure out what we're gonna do next, I mean, that's still a possibility. But anything that happens over here is going to be taxpayer dollars, and we're not willing to put that on anybody's budget for at least, I would say, 5 years. I mean, just let them come in and let them spread out and let them figure out what they have for space and what they need after they've taken over what that was the plan. There was no plan to remodel this. I know that there was some confusion in that too, and I feel like we didn't explain that well enough. I'm sorry.
No, you're right. That kept coming up, and we kept trying to explain that there is no remodel part. No mega $1 million redo of the existing complex at all whatsoever, part of this proposal.
I have a question for Diane. Diane, what percentage of our eligible voters voted this year and last year on the project?
Last year 500, voters came out, this year 340, so I didn't do the math on
21%
that.
this year,
What's that one?
21% this year.
Yeah.
21.
So there was definitely more voting last year on it, a little over 500.
I can't say that I've followed the village votes, but for a number of years, I've certainly followed school district votes. And it appears no matter what the project is or the cost, that there are people who feel very strongly against anything that takes money out of their pockets, and I respect them for that. So a goal, if I was sitting on your side of the table, would be to get as many people as possible out to vote. Because there are, you will, and as I read listened to the percentages, I think we have a wonderful police department. I think a new police chief has come in and done some very positive things. Some of the things that I saw years ago, and I'm not talking to you just about the last regime, I think have been corrected, upgraded, whatever. But if you read the votes, they weren't very popular if you compare that with what Neil Spear got or what you got in votes. And it's hard for me to figure out why people would feel that way.
I think that budget, those numbers are that way every year in the police department.
You know?
And it could be just something as simple as someone got a speeding ticket and they just want to vote
No,
no.
and your point is exactly the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah.
There's a certain number of people who have very strong beliefs, and we have to respect those beliefs, but they're gonna vote no on certain things.
And I think just, to wrap up this discussion, the trustees, we're gonna come back, we're gonna sit back, we're gonna figure something out, because we know we have to do something. We know we have to do something, and we're gonna. We just don't know what it's gonna be yet. So, I'll leave it at that.
Well, as I told David, and it's your, it's Bill and you people's responsibility, but if there's a place for a citizen to help in some way, however it might be, I'm willing to assist. And if you prefer not to involve individual citizens in certain things, I certainly respect that. But I think you've done a good job. I was surprised it went down. I think they've done a good job getting the information out. As I say, the one thing I didn't hear a lot about was the redefining and remodeling of space, and reassigning it. But hopefully they'll bring it back and keep a good, high-quality offering, and it'll go through.
Yeah, thanks, Don. And I think there was just a confusion about what people thought small electric rate increase was versus what property tax impact would be.
And that too, and they thought what we planned for as the worst case scenario was exactly what they were gonna get, which is not, that 14.3% was not carved in stone. That was what we were gonna ask for, but it didn't mean that that's what we were going to get.
Yeah. And allowing us, the electric company, to invest in themselves again is just gonna help us keep our electric rates low for the future. And it's always been very successful over the years. Electric company's always been a really good investment and a really safe bet, for sure.
Well, good luck, and
Thank you.
hope we'll see another opportunity to vote here in the next few months.
Same here.
Well, thank you, Don. And we tried to express along that this was very much what we listened to people say last year, what they wanted to see different. Why don't we do this? Why don't we do that? But I think there was just some mild confusion, and might have been kind of close to last year's budget or vote as well. National election turmoil, who knows?
Damon might have something.
Damon, you got a question?
So, just a couple small questions. What was your original, like, when you started out with that idea, or, again, it was just planning phases, what was your initial budget that you started with that was too high and brought it down? Are you allowed to talk about that, or, like?
You mean last year's police rescue?
No,
not
when
the
we first
responder
started-
building, but the electric,
I wanna say when we
Building.
first started the electric building, the first price tag was like 11. And then, we brought it down to 10. Then we went out with Connor and looked at some of their buildings, came back to the table and was like, okay, we really need like this type of flooring in this room, and we really need this, but we don't need that, and we started like really cutting things out. That's where we decided that we didn't need a vault, but a 2-hour rated room would be okay. Stuff like that, that cut a huge
Yeah.
amount off.
Yeah.
And so we were able to go from 10 to 8.3.
Yeah.
I think choosing the contractor and bringing them on board was the bigger game changer as far as reducing the
Yeah.
cost that we were looking at. And Connor's been very, very helpful in trying to offer solutions that were cost effective,
And do you
what we
feel,
could change and tweak.
do you feel too, all the places that you visited, do you feel that that quality of work would be what we really want?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, they just finished a huge building in Milton for 24,000 square feet plus, something like
It
that.
was beautiful.
5.8 million.
Okay.
So we felt confident they could probably help us figure out something that was gonna be
Yeah.
more economical. And I think they really did a fantastic job along with Wayne the Lamfair and everybody else. So
I was just curious what the price tag was originally. I know you guys said you brought it down, that's pretty
I think that's basically what I correct myself, hatcheting the budget. So we kept tweaking it, getting
Right.
down closer and closer. And it's not like as the project or process could go on more, that they wouldn't be able to keep doing so. It's just you have to start somewhere. And it's not starting right at the top. They worked at it throughout with us for a while, so we get something reasonable. And then we had to have some kind of rough estimate for
Voting.
voting.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming out to all the presentations. Yeah. Sean?
My apologies, I just assumed this was a regular 7 o'clock and I didn't
No, we
look at the
changed it to 6
time,
o'clock
and
now,
You guys, how long you been doing that? Is that like a regular thing?
first one.
Oh, okay, so 6 from now on?
Yes.
Yep.
That's good to know. Let's write that one down. And it seems like I'm here just in time for agenda item 11.
Yep,
Uh,
you are.
I do love hearing the updates from friends in Northern Lake Champlain, I'll have to catch on the video. Apologies for whatever questions I already missed here, but I'm just going off things that I've heard and questions that people have brought up online. I know you guys pay attention to social media and it's where a lot of conversations start, but people are asking about revote rights, how many it would take to petition, if they wanted this project to be revoted on, because only 340 votes were cast out of what is 1,600?
1,600 plus, yeah.
And if we did, I just personally wanna say, if we did a revote, I would like to not just see 340 people revote. I would love for somehow more people to find out about this and weigh in on it, you know?
Prefer they vote.
However you may get that to happen, if
prefer
it
they
goes
vote.
that way,
Yeah,
but-
I mean, last year was the record, right? 500 plus.
Yeah.
And that's a really big turnout for the village of Swanton
So
voters.
my understanding about the petitioning is it only needs to happen if the Board of Trustees decide that they don't want to revote. And I don't know where we stand on that right now, so this is a further discussion that we need to have.
My slight research says 30 days for petition-led, like people, citizen-led
Okay.
petitions. So if it's something that the people want to do, that's something that needs to happen within the next 30, somebody correct me, but
You
this
can
is
submit-
why
you can
I come and
submit-
ask questions too, so we all learn, so.
You can submit that petition, but the board decides whether or not they wanna take that petition.
Okay,
So it's still ultimately the board's decision. The residents aren't allowed to petition the board and bring that to them, but they make the ultimate decision on whether or not they wanna do that.
okay. And I had one other question I wanted to ask about, people talk about the $400,000 property next door and reselling, and this is an assumption I've kind of made, about why that wouldn't be allowed necessarily, because it was bought with ARPA funds. And then to just buy properties with ARPA funds and turn around selling it while it's also being like mitigated for Brownsfields and a bunch of funding tied up into it probably isn't something that ARPA funds was meant to be done, is it?
Probably not, but we don't know yet. We don't know what our plan is.
Yeah.
Until the four of us have sat and had discussions, we don't know what the next step is yet. That's what we need to do. We need to have discussions amongst the four of us and decide what we want to see for the next steps. I mean, we could have 8 or 9 different options out there, you know? I mean, one of them being just sell the electric, the hydro, sell the hydro and get out of the business. But who wants to have rates that are
That'd be-
30 and 40 cents a kilowatt, rather than you're getting 12, you know? But again, it's an option, but we don't know what all the options are yet. So what we need to do is we need to figure out what the options are, and then we can come back and say, okay, here's what our plan is going to be. So, but until we sit down and talk about it, you know, I'm not willing to, you know, to share any of my information at this point, because I don't have any.
Yeah, well, to answer the question about the 400, you know, there were certain guidelines that the ARPA money, if you spent it, you had to meet the requirements in order to be able to use it for what you're saying you're going to use it for. And it's also no longer a $400,000 piece of a property. There's 2+ years of significant investment in time in trying to resolve its issues and complexities with the Brown Zone and engineering and everything else. So, and it's not really the greatest piece of property. And some people think that it's great for us because it's adjacent to this piece of property. And putting the two together makes it a fantastic campus. But for somebody else, retail-wise, it's a very long, narrow spaghetti lot. So what they have chose to do with the ARPA funds and to purchase the property, and it's gonna save the taxpayers money, for sure. It's a good investment in that regard.
David,
Yes.
Siobhan's question kind of brought back to my mind why I'm here tonight. Am I correct, and I'm maybe addressing Adam, but the board will, the trustees will make a decision, but that decision will not kill the opportunity. You guess what I'm saying?
I will speak for myself,
No.
that the decisions that we have will not kill the opportunity.
That's all I
We,
want to know.
we need this building.
Yes,
That's the bottom
absolutely.
line. We
Absolutely.
need this building.
I mean, if I didn't believe that, I wouldn't be here. But as we talked, and
Yep.
I know it's your decision, and I'm glad it is. And I'm sitting on this end of the table, but I would, well, I got the answer I wanted.
Yep.
I
We
don't
need
want-
this
I don't
building.
wanna hear next week or 2 weeks, oh, they decided to do nothing.
As we've heard for years, space is a problem here
That's,
for a long time.
That's not
And
acceptable.
Yep.
this
Doing
seems to be-
nothing is not acceptable.
Right, a really great solution and a really viable economic solution overall for taxpayers as well, considering the fact that it wouldn't be funded with taxpayers' property taxes. And considering how we went from no to so close to yes, I think most people agree that we're heading in the right direction, theoretically.
We need to let the past be, and
Yep,
then.
yep.
and-
The reorg wise and getting space back and how and who's going to leave if somebody leaves, that would be the electric company. And, you know, it's the only way their funds can be used for something like this anyway.
You know, I think I have a pretty good support in saying this statement, in that you people have credibility. If you look at the people at the table there, I think that the public here trusts you, and I think they believe you're honest people working for their good. So that's always a plus when you go to a vote. So I think that you're in a good place, really, to bring something forward.
Well, thank you, Doug. And thank you all for hopefully voting yes.
Can I add something? Trying to get these questions that I just asked answered on a more direct level.
Mhm.
I actually reached out to Vermont Leagues of Cities and Towns and tried to ask that ARPA funding question about whether you can essentially buy the property and become real estate agents, reselling, et cetera. They directed me to Vermont Municipal Assistance Division. Number is 802-828-1027. When you call, they also have an email, but that's pretty much because I'm not like an elected official or a member of municipality, just a resident, general public. That's who they direct you to. So I've actually gotten other questions answered in the past about different things. So I just want to throw that information out there too, because that's where the public can go and ask questions and verify information and possibly get resources and et cetera.
the theory of just selling the property would negatively affect the taxpayers at this point.
And it's not gonna happen because we need this building.
Well, if I may add
We need this
too,
building.
I was one of the biggest naysayers about the $400,000 in ARPA money being spent on it. In my idealistic world, I really wish that we did a regional ARPA funding where you pooled and we got a community center, but after everything that happened last year with education funding, you know, the community center got overshadowed by the public safety facility. That in itself got overshadowed by, you know, all the increases in the education fund and state property tax there. And pretty much nobody got what they wanted, but I honestly do feel that that's in the past. Regardless of whatever that would have been, and that would have been wonderful, what we do still have now is a $400,000 property that's worth more now. That is also, as I learned from your presentation, Bill, you're gonna get 80 to 100% return on the cost of Brownsfield.
Correct.
And it's still an asset that isn't tax money spent.
Yeah.
And I still feel, as I've learned more about the process of the electric facility, that it really is the best option when we talk about taxpayer friendly. You know, because this is an option that raises rates that haven't been raised in a while, and no, I don't see that as a threat, it's just, it's a fact. It's been low for a while, and even after this opportunity, it will still be low.
Correct.
And by allowing it to grow, and somebody else brought up, I think it was David, Beta, when Beta goes into the airport with their electric planes, you know, they're doing the sewer system, Highgate's paying for it, and they're expanding there, so there is exponential, you know, expanse money for that, besides just the Southern District. But what I'd rather have is at least that property is owned by the village now, as opposed to, yes, dare I say it, another gas station, you know, or small car dealership.
I think
or
that was
whatever.
one of the original purposes of that property, was somebody who bought it before was gonna do something with it.
I do think it's a misnomer though to say that property is worth more because of the brownfields and whatnot. What we were trying to say was the money that we put into it for the brownfields, we paid $400,000 for it, and we paid more money in for the brownfields. But if we were to sell that, we're not going to get $400,000 for that property.
Oh, okay.
We're going to get less money
Yeah.
because of the pollution in the ground.
I
So-
appreciate that, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, still, the value of it anyway,
yeah.
being next door, and I see the moving of the electric department is the only thing that won't be like your other solutions that you come forth with possibly, because you're gonna have to do something. It's been known that this building, since it was built, was only gonna last 50 years. And it was known that when the police station was built, that it was inadequate at the time. You know, so these are things that were known, but when you go forward, because you guys have a responsibility to do the best interest of everyone, you know, you have to come up with these solutions. So I, you know, a little bit would like people to cool off on the board, I will say, not that, you know,
Thank you.
because they are things that they have to do and they have to look at, and it's not just about money and taxpayers, where do we grow as a community and what can we do to keep our cost low? And any other solution, I'm gonna throw this out here, I assume would only be a tax option solution. You know, so it's this or that, and,
Yeah.
I mean, I feel bad about ratepayers that aren't exactly being able to make the vote, but this is how our governance system is made up. And like other people say, it's not like Vermont Electric or Green Mountain ask their ratepayers for their permission to up their rates, so you catch 22, you can't have it all. But I'm thankful for what we do have, because we do still have low rates.
Yes.
And that's all, sorry, rant over.
No, yeah, it's fantastic, Siobhan. And for anybody out there still wondering about the $400,000 purchase of the property, that ARPA money, when it fell upon in towns or villages or cities or whatever, the stipulation was it was mostly up to, or absolutely was up to, the elected officials to decide what was best to do with it.
Yeah, I'm very well versed in the ARPA stuff, I did a lot
Well,
of, it
some
was up to
people-
the board, and they wanted like the public to have their input, and that happened for the town and village, et cetera, and
Not
I
particularly
get all that, yeah.
talking to just you, talking to,
No, I hear you, yeah.
so I heard a lot of those questions as well.
So in an effort just to
Wrap it up.
wrap it up, yeah, wrap it up. We need this building. We will come back to the public with options. We simply need to sit and wrap our heads around what our options are and we will be back.
And thank you all for your phone calls and messages and emails about support and everything else. And once again, thank you for coming out and voting.
Number 12.
Number 12, okay. Ready? Approve and accept minutes from Monday, February 10th, 2025, and minutes from the informational meeting held Monday, February 24th, 2025.
I move that we approve and accept the minutes from Monday, February 10th, and from Monday, February 24th as written.
And I second.
All right, we have a first and a second to accept the minutes from both the 10th and the 25th, 24th meetings. All in favor?
Aye.
Any further discussion? Motion carried. 13, approve and accept village warrants through Thursday, March 6, 2025.
I can't.
No. I'll move we approve warrants 12 through 21 through Thursday, March 6th.
I second.
All right, we have a first and a second to approve the village warrants through Thursday, March 6, 2025. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. No further discussion.
Yeah, no, that's okay. It's okay.
Number 14. All right. Approve authorized signers for Vermont Bond Bank loans held by U.S. Bank.
So US Bank has had some turnover and they're updating some stuff. So they needed us to we have 2 bank accounts with them. They need us to do new signature cards. So I just need for you guys to approve Diane and I to still remain signatories on those 2 bank accounts.
Okay.
Sounds good.
You and
It's
Bill?
Diane and myself.
Diane.
Never me.
Okay, I move Lynn and Diane be authorized signatories.
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 I second that.
For the Vermont Loan Bank, bond bank.
Bond bank. I second.
Okay. We have a first and a second to approve Diane and Lynn
Yep.
to be signatories.
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 For Vermont Bond Bank held by the U.S. Bank. Any further discussion? Okay. We have a first and a second. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. Congratulations.
And just you.
And then just me? Yep. Thank you. Number 15. Boy, we're almost halfway there. Motion to approve and sign Agency of Transportation annual forms.
Context.
You gonna cover it? You wanna cover it or no?
You just want to sign it.
I wanna know what I'm signing.
Yeah, do you need a motion?
Yeah,
Okay.
please.
So this is routine documentation of financial stuff related to highways, so we can qualify for grant information. So it's
Okay.
done, to be in compliance, it's gotta be done every year. So the motion would be something like, motion to approve the certification of compliance for town road and bridge standards.
So moved.
And seconded.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Any further discussion on this agreement for, to approve the Agency of Transportation annual forms? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried to approve town highways annual financial plan.
And then this one is all of you need to sign that one, please.
you.
I'm gonna stack them here.
All right, moving along. Number 16, adopt and sign Department of Housing and Community Development Resolution for fiscal year 25 municipal planning grant.
Yeah, so these next four are closely related. This one's a little bit independent. So this one is simply the board's signing of a resolution for an application for grant funds for the municipal planning grant. So this had to be signed off on and was by the chair of the planning commission. Because if you remember, for this particular grant, past discussions in past years, we are one with the town on this. So they have signed off and they have acknowledged that we will be the only ones seeking funds under this planning grant. We just need Board of Trustee authorization. So to give you a sense of what this is, it is up to $30,000 with a $10,000 cash match. And again, we can't proceed to even ask for that without this resolution.
So,
I'll move that we approve the Department of Housing and Community Development Resolution for fiscal year 25 municipal planning grant for the village.
A second.
all right, we have a first and a second to sign the Department of Housing and Community Development Resolution for fiscal year 25 municipal planning grant. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried to accept the grant.
Same thing, this requires all four signatures, please.
Okay.
So those next three items are included in this one?
Correct, so separate items. So on this one, the language is silent. It kind of, the way it's written appears that you need a motion to go into and open this public hearing. If you simply read this item and then have the discussion and it's on the record, that counts. There's no
Okay,
language that requires a formal motion to open a hearing.
just read it.
Just read it.
All right. Number 17, open public hearing for VCDP municipal planning grant. Any community discussion?
Blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
No,
I need a
so-
motion to open that.
You-
There we go.
Sure? 'Cause I didn't see what we did. We need a motion? Okay, I'm
We need a motion?
corrected by our esteemed clerk, so let's
Okay.
do an official motion to open it.
I move that we enter into public hearing for the VCDP municipal planning grant.
Second.
Third, on third.
Approved.
We have a 1, 2, 3, to accept the open public hearing for VCDP municipal planning grant. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
You got a discussion?
Who seconded?
They both did.
They both did?
Yeah, Neil beat me to it.
Thank you.
Can't have a co-second.
I know.
Okay, so want me to articulate what these are? So this is a grant specific to hydro. So
Okay.
the public hearing gets open, but what we're doing is we're adopting and signing the resolution. So the planning grant for this is up to $60,000 grant for hydro capital assessment, which we fully intend to apply for. So again, only hydro, that's the only lane for this particular grant. So we're looking for up to $60,000 to do that. To even move forward in that process, we need two things. One is called a Residential Anti-Displacement and Relocation Plan that requires your signature, and then a resolution for VCDP Grant Application Authority, which is the Board of Trustees authorizing that we can move forward in requesting these funds.
Okay. Number 18, open and sign, adopt and sign a resolution for VCDP grant application for hydro.
Can you repeat it one more time for me?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep, so the grant itself, when we apply for, if we move forward, is up to $60,000 grant for hydro capital assessment. So for all the things that we continually talk about that require funding up there, which is in the millions,
Mhm.
but this is $60,000 for a pro to come in and do a true assessment, to tell us how to prioritize that and move forward. The two things that require Signatures from the Board of Trustees are normal obligatory form called Residential Anti-Displacement and Relocation Plan. The second is a resolution that you support the grant application authority. In other words, giving us the authority to proceed in the process.
So,
Okay, so the second one's giving you authority on our behalf to go ahead and apply for these grants, but what is the first one? I don't understand.
Yes,
I'm sorry.
that's okay. So this is, hereby adopts this residential anti-displacement and relocation plan as required by the provisions of HUD, Housing and Community Development Act of 1974, and the provisions of 24 CFR Part 42, federal guidelines, as a condition of receiving funding under the Vermont Community Development Program, hereinafter VCDP. So it identifies what a low, moderate income dwelling unit is.
So basically, we're not gonna displace people out of their homes in order to do anything with our hydro dam. Is that,
That
am
is
I
correct. So
understanding it? Okay.
even though this, on its face, has no application to this grant, it is a requirement to move forward for
Okay.
all HUD grants.
I got it. It was the displacing
Yes.
of homes that
Yeah.
was like, I don't understand what
Yep.
what you're asking me to
Right.
sign. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right, so I move that we adopt and sign the Department of Housing and Community Development Resolution Grant stuff thing, application.
and I'll second.
Okay.
I tried.
We have a first and a second to support what Bill read. Any further discussion?
One question. Is there any match of any kind?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, on this one,
I thought he said 10.
that was the other one.
Oh.
There is a match.
Just give you the printout. Bill.
Yep, I have it somewhere. Yeah, is it on that one?
20%?
It is, 10%.
10%?
In kind or cash match, so in kind up to 5,000.
Okay.
All right.
Any other discussion?
No.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried to accept and adopt the signed resolution of the BCDP grant application.
2 forms, both of which require all 4 signatures.
Oh boy, we did Adam's favorite. I have 20.
Gene.
Thank you, George.
All right. Just a few more, we're on the next page.
Just need a motion, I'm just seeking a motion to adjourn from this time.
To adjourn, okay.
Yep, just raise it, get a motion.
Yeah.
Number 19, we are now going to adjourn from a VCDP planning grant public hearing.
So moved.
You don't need a motion, do you?
Do we need a motion to
Yep.
adjourn?
Yeah, we
First,
should.
second.
We
That's
all
why I
second it.
specifically did that.
Yeah.
Neil
We had
seconded.
one, Neil seconded, for one of our other grants, and we didn't open it,
Yeah,
didn't close it properly, and we had to redo it.
better to be safe. I went on somebody telling me, it doesn't really say. But, you just gotta call in favor.
Okay,
We adjourn.
any further discussion before we say all in favor?
That's why you're sitting here.
All good?
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried, thank you very much. Oh, favorite one, coming up.
Yep, stack, thank you.
Number 20, coin drop request for July 2025, Swanton Village Fire Auxiliary, and August 2025, Swanton Historical Society.
Wanna make a motion, Adam?
What were the dates and the rain dates? I don't remember.
It didn't say.
Saturday, July
Just the
19th
month,
is the first
July
date
and
for
August.
auxiliary.
Uh-huh,
July 26th was the rain date.
okay.
Can't be the 26th.
Is that your car show date?
Yeah,
Okay.
Pray for no rain.
Yeah.
and what,
Glad you asked.
So what if they go, why don't we give them permission for the 12th and 19th and see if that works for them
Yep.
while we're here?
I agree.
Is that for the fire or for the historic?
This is for the ladies auxiliary.
Auxiliary, and what was the dates on the historical society?
Historical was 8/2, August 2nd, and August 9th. I didn't think that interfered with anything. 7, 12, and 7, 19.
The 9th is Corn Fest, but that won't affect
Probably not.
anything.
The 9th of August is the Corn Fest?
Yeah,
Did you get a motion yet?
I know.
I think we
make-
started, didn't we?
I make a motion that we approve the Swanton Village Fire Auxiliary for the 12th of July with a 19th of July rain date, and the Historical Society for the 2nd of August with a 9th of August rain date.
A second.
Okay, we have a first and a second to adopt the coin drops for the Swan Village Fire Auxiliary and the Swan Historical Society. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
You asked for opposed.
Asked or opposed?
I oppose. Thank you.
You just want to say passes to the
Passes 2-1. Yep. Are we doing away with Robert's rules?
No, they're Robert's rules, they're the same thing. I just have a question for others, because they're gonna ask. Are we maxed out now? Is every month claimed for coin drops?
No, I think that's September left,
Okay, all right.
May through September.
Okay.
One left out of them.
Number 20.
Democracy. It's democracy.
Democracy in action here.
That's it.
Number 21, enter water commissioners meeting. Review and approve water and sewer allocations for 59 North River Street. Exit water commissioners meeting.
I move we go into water commissioners meeting at 7:27 to review and approve the water and sewer allocation for 59 North River Street.
Second.
All right, we have a first and second to go into the water commissioners meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Andy Bouchard purchased 63 North River from Gary Rice.
Yep.
We call that Big White. The lot just before that, on the same side of the road, used to have a mobile home there years ago. He got permission from the town to put another home in there, and there's an existing water and sewer connection already. He just needs an allocation for 300 gallons per day to provide water to a small, single-family, 2-bedroom dwelling. Doesn't need to pay for the connection fees, it's already been paid. He will have to purchase a water meter package.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Motion? I move we approve the water and sewer allocation for 59 North River Street.
I second.
Okay, we have a first and a second to approve the water line connection for 59 North River Street. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
I move that we exit water commissioners meeting at 7:28 PM.
Second.
And we have a first and a second to
Exit.
exit the water commissioners meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you. Number 22, we're on the second page. Vermont Department of Health request for Village of Swanton to serve as a closed point of distribution.
So here's the request. If you recall, about a year, maybe 2 years ago, we were approached by the Department of Health, and the Board of Trustees approved us to be an open point of distribution center. So illness comes around, we were approved as an open, that MOU is still in effect. They reached out to say, can you be a closed? So it's based on the number of employees we have here, and they may think it's best for us just to serve, for whatever reason, our own population of employees here. So they want to have the option of either being on the record with them with an MOU of being both an open distribution center for all or a closed distribution center restricted to our employees.
Can
So, yeah, go ahead.
explain to me what that distribution, what point,
Yep.
what are we distributing?
Whatever is needed based on whatever catastrophic event. So it could
Oh,
be
okay.
medicines,
PPE, medicine?
any of that,
okay,
all of the
gotcha.
above.
COVID
Right.
shot,
Yep.
that type of thing.
Any
I'm
and
tracking.
all of the above.
Thank you.
So the proposed action item motion would be, the Board of Trustees authorizes the village manager to enter into a contractual agreement permitting the Swanton Village Complex to serve as a closed point of distribution center responding to public health emergencies.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a first and a second to allow the village complex to serve as a closed point of distribution for emergency purposes. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Number 23, allocate all current and future opioid settlement funding to Northwest Counseling and Support Services, NCSS.
We can take one and pass it down. And the board has heard this in past iterations as well. Lynn and I have been working with Northwestern Counseling and Support Services for a significant amount of time, trying to identify a conduit to fund using, so to back up, I think you're all aware that we received over the past several years, small portions annually as a result of the opioid settlement with Major Pharma. So the Village of Swanton and anyone else in the state of Vermont that applied received those funds. You're allowed to utilize those funds for very restrictive purposes. Essentially, the primary one would be to educate youngsters to avoid people succumbing to opioid abuse in the future. Very, very few entities over time have been able to do that. So we received a commitment from Northwestern Counseling and Support Services that you have in front of you that commits to utilizing the funding, having an annual report back mechanism to us to include written reports, attendance at these proposed events, and the like. So a note that the account, our current account is $31,126.56. We do anticipate future settlement payments. We have no idea how much or when, because they just seem to happen. The suggested motion would be that the Board of Trustees authorizes the allocation of all current and future opioid settlement funds to NCSS to address the misuse and abuse of opioid products through collaborative educational outreach efforts.
These would be funds coming to us?
We already have them, and we would literally send not in a reimbursement mode, we would cut a check to NCSS
Yeah.
based on this agreement and this authorization, and they would get that, and as soon as we get the next check, they would get that. They would give us regular feedback as to what their success is, and it's a tough measurable,
Right.
but
I move that we allocate all current and future opioid settlement funding to the Northwest Counseling and Support Services.
Second.
All right, we have a first and a second to allocate current and future opioid settlement, excuse me, funding to Northwest Counseling and Support Services, NCSS. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you very much.
And opposed.
And opposed. Okay. So 2-1.
okay, thank you.
Number 24, motion to approve the purchase of a replacement bucket truck for Swanton Village Electric.
So the electric department received multiple bids for various trucks, and I'll just read those. So the one that they want to go with is from Altech, and it is in the amount of $422,470. This is simply a motion to get it in the queue. Fast track is 1 year, likelihood is 18 months or more. So everybody is really trying to get in the queue to get this done. The selection was competitive. We did a process with the electric department for a review with other vendors. Other vendors included DC Bates Equipment, that was $433,471, and Kylie, which was $440,602. So again, the suggested motion would be the Board of Trustees authorizes Swanton Village Electric to enter into a purchase and sales agreement with Alltech for a new bucket truck. This purchase would be in the amount of $422,470 with delivery anticipated in approximately 12 months.
So this is gonna replace the truck that Tanner
That-
and.
Yep.
Correct.
And, I believe this is something he's been working on for months, so this is just like a normal, every so often we have to replace their equipment.
So
How often do we?
Every 10 years, we get, so each truck has a 10-year life. The digger, we do about every 15 years. So these trucks, they're tested every year for the electrical and to make sure that they're still, yeah, the hydraulics, and to make sure that they're still like safe.
Mhm.
And the problem is you start getting out that far, like if they get red tagged, that truck can't leave the garage, no matter what's going on, because it's not safe for them to be
To get
in it
into
without
it.
being electrocuted.
Yeah.
So what we've seen, and, after you get to the 10-year mark, that's when you're starting to get the expensive.
Right, but he's not, we're not at the 10-year mark yet, we're coming up onto
Oh,
it.
we're
No,
there.
we're there.
We're there, okay, I was
Yeah.
just curious, cause
They're,
I didn't know, like, when you put it in the chute to start.
Yeah,
It's
we're-
about year 9 right now.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, like
So
year
it'll
9,
be,
year 8, year 9.
it'll be
10,
10, a little after 10 by
10.
the time this one comes.
Okay,
And this truck that we've got right now, we've already had body work done on it. I mean, they keep the trucks looking good,
yeah,
but, there's starting to be some body work, I mean, we've done body work on it already,
okay,
so.
alright. I, make a motion to approve the purchase of a replacement bucket truck from Alltech in the amount of $422,470.
And I'll second.
All right, we have a first and a second to approve the replacement bucket truck purchase for Swanton Village Electric. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Motion carried. Number 25, village manager update. Bill, you're on deck.
Okay, I'd like to tell you that it's one page, but it's not. Let's talk about the most recent phone call that we received today, but it's an ongoing issue. So this is really for the public listening in, and Damon, once again, thank you for being here. So there's the citizen that called that has 3 properties on First Street and is complaining about literally some comprehensive, significant structural damage from large trucks hitting potholes over time and causing those. It's not the first we've heard of it. We've had complaints about business, Bees on Broadway on Canada. Darcy Benoit has contacted us about her residence on Broadway, and that's all from trucks, believe it or not, on First Street and Canada. So a couple things here. I went and spoke to Dean. We cold patched a week ago. We're gonna go out and do it again tomorrow because we understand the difference. So this, we're trying to get the exact detail, but First Street, anybody, I think everybody can acknowledge it, it's in pretty rough shape. But it's probably 7 years from the normal replacement, state of Vermont paving replacement.
I'm thinking maybe
4 or
9
5.
or 9 to 10.
It could be
It was
that
done
long.
literally, what,
4 or 5 years ago, right?
4 or 5 years ago, yeah.
So even longer. So
It's delaminating and everything else.
what's at stake here is this gentleman simply wanted all of this documented because his attorney instructed him to do so. Had great praise for village employees, Public Works, and our responsiveness, understands that it was paved by the state of Vermont. So, excuse me, I reached out today for our local representative, Matt Walker, who also happens to be the House Transportation Chair, to make sure he's aware. I will also reach out for Secretary of Transportation, Joe Flynn, tomorrow, in an email to both of them to see if there's anything that can be done. And I know we're not the only community in the state of Vermont facing this, I get it. But that is pretty significant if we have to try to keep pace with structural damage happening to our homes with tractor trailers driving down First Street. And we all know that's to the tune of about, I don't know, several thousand a day. that go over that bridge. I forget the exact number, I don't have it in front of me, but I can get that. So it's, this is as much for the trustees, because it's hot off the press, but we should do something here. If anyone calls in, we just want to log any other incidents so we're aware of it. If you see something that needs, is a critical need, pothole that needs cold patch, we'll get out there as quickly as we can. When summer comes, we'll do all we can to more properly and more permanently seal those. But there's a significant amount of stuff that's happening. You may have seen the Facebook post. The interstate's a mess at exit 21. So we're not alone, but I'm concerned about our share in here, and I just want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to reach out to state officials. On our end, Dean reached out and left a message to District 8 Local Garage. There's a myth, I don't know if it's true or not, it used to be, that each district can prioritize their top #1 problem area with additional funding. So we're trying to get in the queue to do that. And I know no better way to do that than through the House Transportation Chair and the Secretary of Transportation.
Amen.
So that's what we'll try to do.
That all you have on that?
That's all I have on that.
On that? So I'll speak for myself. You know, we're gonna have to pick up where the state screwed up. We, you know, this is a state, I mean, they hired this company to do it. They did a half-assed job, and we're left, you know, holding the bucket.
I know, the thing looks like it's 10 or 12 years old, so
It's bad. It's absolutely bad. Whoever signed off on that contract should be embarrassed. So, but that's just me. I'll get off my box.
Before you fall off.
No, it's a constant source of complaints for a street, the ruts, the potholes, the delamination.
But again, I mean, I'm not gonna spend taxpayer money on it.
You're talking First and Canada, or?
Canada's a different issue. Canada, it's a one-off. We tried to replicate it. We couldn't. So they're hitting something on Canada that's causing problems for bees on Broadway. We don't know exactly what that is.
Downtown?
Yep. Yep.
Or they were talking about their home on Broadway.
Both.
Okay.
But one is specific to First Street. There's something on Canada over near the old bar at Ford, that area, that's something, some anomaly that, again, when we try to find it, we can't.
Right.
I
So-
know about the manhole obstacle course at the,
Yeah.
around the Greenwich area.
Slalom.
Slalom,
Yeah.
we all have to dodge around, but,
Yep.
okay. So,
So again, we'll track that. I think we're doing due diligence, and we did it within a day. By the way, the caller, I told him I would follow up in a couple days. He got a call back within 15 minutes, updating him as to what we're gonna do, and going back out there tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. So I don't know how much more we can do. The next thing are local, speaking of paving, local paving bids. So we're identifying these bids through a competitive process. So these were all received for a Class 2, fully grant-funded project by the state of Vermont for Linda Avenue, Lake Avenue, and the intersection of Middle Road. All bids were submitted in writing and attended in person. Sealed bid that were opened on February 2nd, 25 at 1 p.m. So you have it in front of you, but for the camera and for those folks at home, and of course, Damon, always for you. The winning bid was Hungerford at $78,808.50, followed by ECI at $97,440. Hutchins at $126,224.40, and J.A. McDonald, $135,212. All vendors agreed that we were bidding apples for apples, and they all did their formula the same exact way. No issues, no considerations. So there is a match, so we have to match a portion of that, but we will do that in kind through structure stuff that we have to do. So again, this is a grant that we received that's gonna fully fund this. Yes?
I'm just concerned that the winning bid like 40 to 49 tons less than the other two bids.
We believe, even if you added up the extra, they would still be the lowest, they're the lowest per ton. But Dean was in the room and believes that that is the correct amount to do
That's the
this
correct
job.
one instead of these higher,
Yes, but
Okay.
that is a good, so,
sorry.
no, what trustee Kelleher is talking about is the difference is the total tons bid, Hungerford is 830, and then it ranged from 870 to 878, 879. So we had that conversation. In the event that we, and here's an important part of this, Dean goes there every day and actually measures to make sure that it meets criteria of what they bid, the roads. And, because he's doing the structures and he's making sure that they're doing the right thing, and if you gotta lift them up, that's on us. So, we had that conversation, so that's a great point. If it turns out and they have to match this, they still are far less
Okay.
than the others. Let's put it this way, when they read their bid, they went last. The other companies were just like, okay. Because they all work together all the time, and it's like, I don't know how you're doing that, you must be losing money, so, we're getting a pretty darn good deal.
They're local, and
They
did
are
a great
local.
job in the village paving projects last year.
They do all of our local stuff. So, Diane, I send this to you electronically, so posting? Okay, just, I gotta remember to do that. Any other questions on that?
No, sir.
No,
Okay.
sorry.
All right,
Good catch.
Public Works, so really after, let's call it a fairly rough period of call-outs, almost every single day, and they had a little slowdown with the warmer weather that allowed them to concentrate on some much-needed repair work that we talked about, right? I think they truly, really pride themselves on the ability to save money for the taxpayers and take and rehab. So in this case, a dump truck and a trailer, so they've been working diligently on those. And then this morning happened and they got called out again. So, and it was a lot more snow than anybody thought, and for some reason, I think people forgot how to drive after all this winter. And it was real slow moving, and there were cars off and all that stuff, so. But they're working diligently across the board. The next one is hydro generation, so it's the annual handout. So, you're all well aware that from week to week, we talk about our various units being down for different repairs. So despite that, we had a really good year, beating our 7-year average. So 42,523,076 in 2024, which is better than 2020, 2021, less than last year. So two things hit us. We had some units down from time to time, and then Mother Nature hit us, because we had some significant dry spells this year. So I will just stay right in with hydro now and talk about a couple things. The first is that we talked about authorization to go get that grant money, but we have a much bigger collaborative grant in right now with the Department of Energy. So we combined with Morrisville Water and Light and Enosburg and us. And we each individually applied to the Department of Energy for millions of dollars, and collectively for over $15 million in a competitive program using the expertise of one of our contractors, our vendors, Celeste Fay, who has had tremendous success in this area. So far, hydro has been highlighted as a non-targeted federal grant. So in the grant world, you now go to many of the portals and there's nothing, or they're shut down, they're paused. This one, they're not. Department of Energy, hydro, full steam ahead. So we won't know for a while, but again, with our VEPSA partners, great collaboration. Anything that we receive does have a match, and it's a significant match, but we're gonna receive millions of dollars that we would have needed to do for upgrades, whether it's
Whether we have a
turbines.
license or not.
Well, we can talk about that. We're okay.
It's
That's
expired is all.
That's happening. And no, correction, we are operating on a current automatically renewing annual license.
Ah, there we go.
So we're okay for now. So, but that grant's good. So speaking of the state, as of this morning, Unit 3 continues to purr like a kitten.
Good.
So if you recall, they at one point tried to take out the old wood blocks because they didn't like the requirement of the watering, right, of the teak wood. So they took those out with the best of intentions. But when they put a guide bearing on, they didn't manufacture it down as low as they can. So picture this table being the bearing. They put a guide bearing this far up.
Yep.
And now engineers say that was the root cause to the vibrations that sheared off 13 of 14 of the large bolts, which took it offline for a considerable amount of time. Luckily, not during peak operation. So we removed that, we worked with the vendor. The old original teak blocks are in there with a reinstallation of the old watering system. And it's got high-end, new state-of-the-art vibration monitoring that's tied into the control panel. And it literally has been absolutely dead straight and producing at 80% and producing 3.5 megawatts, 24/7. Number 4 is doing the same thing. Number 5 is running like a top. So we are at 7.9 when you include number 5. The tail race is under 117 and it's low right now. It's like 110.
Nice.
So the equally good news is starting today, we had a vendor come in. I think you've heard or we're up to speed on the, let's call it, when running unit 1, water seepage came up through the floor
By unit 2,
by unit 2. So
control panel.
meaning that we couldn't run unit 1 and unit 2. So those are both 1 megawatt, but we could use them right now, right? It's running at full steam. We're spilling. So they came in and they have this solution where about every 6 inches they drill these holes at about 45-degree angles, and they shoot this high-end, quick-drying cement. And they say when they do it tomorrow, they drill all the holes today. When they do it tomorrow, they'll test the following day and the 4th day if needed. And they'll run it for up to 4 hours and see, if they found another path. So that's the temporary solution. When we dewater and we shut down for maintenance, they'll do the same thing underneath to shore it up. We have measurement things in place right now for monitoring cracks that are in the wall, all that stuff. But, knock on wood, these guys are very confident, best case scenario. As soon as we fire up and we're good to go and they give a green light, unit 1 is ready to go, working beautifully, and it will produce our 1 meg right away. Unit 2, we're waiting on some final pieces of the interior of some bearings. We expect within, Dan will say 4 weeks, but let's face it, let's go 4 to 8 weeks, because we know just things take time, and then that will be up and running. And fingers crossed, we'll have every single unit up and running for the true spring runoff.
And that's been the first
Fair
time
enough.
for a year?
Yeah, I would say,
Seems
well,
like-
oh,
I was
yeah.
gonna say, 1 and 2 have been
at
down
least-
since I became the electric
Actually, it seems
commissioner,
like
so.
it's,
Yeah, and unit 1 turbine is functioning perfectly right now. Just can't turn it on because
Can't
the
turn it
water
on.
seeps and is gonna impact unit 2's
Yeah,
control
right,
panel.
so
So that's where we're at. So I think, all things considered, very good news for hydro. Again, I love the fact that we re-emphasized at their request, Dan staying there because it needs 100% of his focus.
Absolutely,
And Jason has taken over his responsibilities for maintenance
here.
of the other facilities to include here. So that's worked out well. Annexation update. So we did, before crossover, as promised, we have an actual bill. So it is in the form, titled Approval of Annexation of Property by the Village of Swanton. And it is in House Government Operations. It's House Bill 364. We have friendlies on that committee, a couple of them that are going to ensure that it gets out and voted on. And theoretically, this could even be post-crossover, but they have to approve it, and it's in our charter. So the hope is, at the end of this legislative session, when they adjourn, we, the village, are the rightful owners of 124 First Street. And we don't pay taxes on it.
Oh, what?
Right next door,
Next door,
124 First Street.
124.
Oh, okay.
So
We had to
the
pay taxes this year.
Yeah.
we're the owners,
But it's the
but
village.
it's correct, thank you, good clarification, yep. Okay, we're almost there. New hire. So proud to announce that we hired Asaf Aurora as our electrical support technician. He started on Monday, March 3rd. So if you have not had the chance to meet him, please come in and meet him. Working daily when Al is here to kind of get up to speed, and then drinking from the fire hose, whether it's water, wastewater, or hydro. So, so far, seems to be a great hire. It's very early, obviously, and he's got a lot to learn, but everybody that's interacting with him has enjoyed that so far.
Yeah, super nice guy.
Yep. Water. So a few things at water. We're continuing to identify a timeline to get those 12 new chemical pumps online by working with an expert. They're just trying to find time to get up here. They're also in the process of determining the scope of work to further harden a couple of facilities. So we have to do, that's the main plant and the reservoir. We need to install a small security fence around the lower lift area. Not a heavy lift, not a great expense, but it is truly just open with a padlock. We don't like the situation. It's not gonna cost much. So we're working on that. And then in addition, once fiber is installed, which is supposed to be in April, then we can add enhanced security, both lower lift main plant, and do something additional at the reservoir. The last thing that they're doing is they're gonna be the first in line to finalize all the safety policies following feedback from the safety expert from the League of Cities and Towns. So again, you know, post-injury, we are in such a much better place with policy, procedure, safety, lockout, tagout, all of those things. We're so far ahead of where we once were, and again, proud to say that every department leader is taking it very seriously.
Good to hear.
Wastewater. So again, this is a project that presents challenges and opportunities. We do have, we approved a change order for the centrifuge installation. So that literally, a steel's been ordered. They believe that within 6 to 8 weeks, the centrifuge will be reinstalled, chute attached, and we can at least in the interim de-water our sludge that's in the holding tanks at least. So we'll run that thing 24/7, working through the project. So we are experiencing a potential significant delay in what's called the motor control center. Basically, the nerve center that controls, it's the brains of the operation that'll operate everything, clarifier, sludge pumps, all that equipment. So we may have to work on a temporary bypass while we're waiting on that. Or the project will get shut down for a few months, they'll come back to finish that. But during that time, we're still gonna run under the old system, we'll still run
Right.
the clarifier,
Yep.
or the centrifuge, and be able to de-water our sludge. So, lots going on, there's been nothing simple about that project. It's like any remodel, much more problematic than starting new, in a real confined space.
Still on target for December 31, or you think?
I'm gonna
next week?
say no way. I'm gonna say that we will be into January, but that does, by 1 year,
Yep, exactly.
alleviate the impact on our bond, full bond being due. So
Yep, exactly.
it's not a horrible thing.
Not a horrible thing.
Because we'll just creep into January.
Yep.
The good and the bad.
And then this one, this is simply a read ahead. Heidi is coming in, and I can send you this electronically too. I didn't have a chance because I just got it this afternoon. But this is an open grant list as well as a pending application grant list. Again, no need to go into granular detail now unless you have questions, but Heidi is coming in on the 28th of April to cover each and every one of these with you.
I'll hold it till then.
But again, if you look at it and you have questions, and like we talked about with Friends of Northern Lake Champlain, sadly, many of the things are on hold right now. That's just the reality of it. And let me see. That's all I have. Thought that was pretty quick. I was trying to get some eye contact with Diane, but
That's it, Bill?
that's it.
All right.
Number 26, public comment. David?
So I guess a follow-up to your thing, with the $50 million, that's gonna be, said a grant with Enosburg and ourselves?
Up to over 15,
Right.
15, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I thought you said 50, you scared me for a second.
No,
Okay.
15, one
Yeah.
five. What would that entail, like upgrading exciters?
Yep.
Or is that just everything that deals with?
Depends on the amount,
Yeah.
so we're in the process of working with Celeste Bay and our internal folks to prioritize, depending on what we get, prioritize what we should upgrade.
Okay.
So there's a new vendor coming in to really, truly, for example, at one point, the exciters, and I can't remember, have you had the tour?
I've seen the slide that you guys
Yeah.
had, you showed the old battleship.
Yeah,
piece
so
set up
that
and-
cabinet,
Yeah,
old style vendors would say, you know what, you gotta replace everything.
yeah.
New, more creative folks are saying, you know what, keep the cabinet, we'll do one at a time. Pay for all of them at once, but go systematically, you know, exciter 1, 2, 3, 4, so those are essentially the starters for the turbines.
Yeah.
And that's the purpose they serve. And then right on through the upkeep and little tweaks and enhancements of really almost every part of the facility.
Yeah.
We could easily spend $10 million tomorrow if we had it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. No, it's just my question is, because I know there's a lot of stuff where you guys say you definitely need to replace it. And
Right.
it's coming up on a end of life or, yeah,
Yep.
This would be a very, very good thing.
Yep.
Comes through.
Yep.
thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
That's the end of public comment? All right. Any other necessary business? Number 27.
Just a couple things for me. Earlier, I used some foul language. I do apologize for that. Came out a little quick, so my apologies for that language. And again, I want to thank the folks who came out and voted this past week. We really appreciate the support. So, and I'm also, after 16 years of being in charge of the Swanton Chamber of Commerce, I've stepped down and we have new leadership with Darcy Benoit and Elaine Nestor, who will be co-chairing the chamber moving forward. So if you see them, congratulate them, wish them the best. Please get out and volunteer, you know, it's one of my biggest frustrations was it's the same darn people doing the same darn things. And, you know, get out and volunteer. It's your community. You want to see it better? Get out and volunteer. So,
And just to tag along with what he said, you feel like you're not gonna be included because it is the same 10 people who do it all the time, but trust me that they're begging for help, they want you there, and
Absolutely.
you will absolutely be included.
yep.
And just a note on Hometown Heroes banner, they're closed now. We've ended up selling 172 of them. I'm sorry, 72 of them, not 172. 72 of them, and we're still looking for refunds. If you want a refund for that $45 for the overpay, let me know. I'm getting a list together to give to Trish. And I think that's it for me. Anything for you?
I'm starting over. I appreciate the vote, the village voters confided in me once more, and I'm looking forward to working with a different board, and hopefully we've all got the same interests for the betterment of our community in common, and we might not agree on everything, but we still, has been in the past, and we still get through it, because the community is a great community. I still believe that, and I think the whole board believes that. So, thank you, and let's hang in there.
Yeah, man.
Thank you, Neil. I have just one thing to add. Somebody sent me today. And I think it's something that the Abenaki Council's working on. So,
Energy program?
Franklin County Natural Resources Conservation District both, and they're gonna have some workshops, and I guess one's gonna be at the Abenaki Tribal Council headquarters here at 100 Grant Avenue in Swanton.
Is that the 19th,
Yeah, April 18th,
18th?
yeah.
March 19th is
Well-
the energy efficiency program.
Okay, that's, because we're present at that. Dwayne's gonna go and
Yeah.
be there personally, but I don't know if that's the same one you're talking
Yeah,
about.
no,
Oh, okay.
so it says here, Friday, March 14th, from 6 to 8 PM, and Friday, April 18th, from 6 to 8 PM at the Abenaki Tribal Council headquarters. You can learn more at tinyurl.com, land water conversations, and more information can be found at www.franklincountynrcd.org/land-water-conversations. It sounds like a very interesting couple meetings. Anybody has any further questions, they can contact the Franklin County Natural Resources Conservation District. Mailing 50 South Main Street, Suite B20, St. Albans, Vermont, 05478. And their telephone number is 802-582-3133. See if you can attend. We'll put up some more information on this. Land and water conversations. Water quality, habitat, recreation, and access are the focal points. Anybody else have anything else to add?
All good.
Okay. Onward to executive session.
Move that we find that we enter into executive session for the trustees to receive confidential legal and personnel information for which the premature disclosure of it to the general public would clearly place the trustees at a substantial disadvantage.
And I'll second.
Okay, we have a first and second to enter executive session to discuss legal and personnel specifically.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you, everyone.